Welcome, guys. Welcome to Chavista Chronicles from Caracas. This is Jesus Rodriguez, and I have the pleasure to be interviewed today. William Camacaro. He is the founder of the Alberto Lovera Bolivarian CIrcle in New York. He's also there a very well-respected anti-war and anti-imperialist activist. And currently, he's working into projects, one called Manitos Fund, and he's also a senior analyst for the Council on Hemispheric Affairs in Washington, D.C. And he is stuck right now in Venezuela due to the coronavirus and many other things. Welcome, William. How are you?
Thank you for the invitation.
That's fine. Listen, the idea today is that I will ask you a few questions, and then at the end or in the middle of the interview, you can ask me a couple of questions. And I want to start first asking you about your recent projects. What are you doing lately? Why are you stuck in Venezuela? Because you are based in New York, but you have been in Venezuela for the last, like 6 or 7 months? Tell us a little bit about what you have been doing lately and your projects.
Yes, I'm stuck in Venezuela thanks to the pandemic. So I have here since January, basically. And yes, I have been working very closely and lately with the Global Alliance for Justice. And it's also it's an NGO, a think tank that is developing a special project that is called Manitos. Manitos is a project that is trying to we are trying to get in touch with grassroots movement here in Venezuela and provide support to the grassroots movement from United States. Basically, the support could be in some kind of seeds, some kind of product to work in agriculture. And also now we are been talking about medical stuff, some kind of medical stuff for the movement. So it's a very important initiative from the Global Alliance for Justice because it's trying to connect people to people from the United States with people here in Venezuela, especially in this moment that Venezuela is under attack with all these economy sanctions from the United States.
Yeah, somehow what you're trying to do there is somehow to bypass the sanctions, right? But doing it, connecting people to people stuff and related to them, right?
Basically because it's a project that is between people to people. It's not by a state, so the state is not involved. So it's possible to bypass the sanctions. So this doesn't have to be anything with the state. And it's something that is organized in the United States by people over there. Basically, we need the only thing that we need is the permission from the Venezuelan government to bring all this material. And we will be working very closely with the Bolívar de Zamora, la coordinadora Bolívar Zamora, that belongs to the peasant movement here in Venezuela. And they have representation, I think, in over 17 states. So it's a very broad movement.
Yes, it is. So what else are you doing? What are your plans? Are you gonna stay here indefinitely or?
Well, I'm planning to go back, so I'm trying to and just follow very, very closely what's going on in New York City because we know all the pandemic has been very strong there. It's a lot of people have been died, and also a big number of people now with the process, and some people are very nervous because they believe that a lot of people will get infected.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just checking very closely everything and waiting the moment to jump back to the United States, to New York City. That basically I have been there for over 20 years, so half of my life, a little more than half of my life.
Yes, like two thirds or three quarters of your life. I'm joking.
Yes, about.
Listen. I wanna ask you also about what about the Council on Hemispheric Affairs? What you have been doing with them? Because
No,
I
we have
see
been
you
doing.
recently. I saw you
Yeah,
recently.
yeah, I have been doing writing for them for over, I think, 2 years already. But this time, I was disconnected for 3 months, and they called me to be back to the Council on Hemispheric Affairs in Washington D.C. to work with them. So I'm working more closely with Venezuela with them in the article that they published about Venezuela, but also working with Bolivia, that I know, I think, very well. Uh, and also, sometimes I work with some countries in Central America,
Because you have
writing.
let me interrupt you because you have organized like several delegations. That's part of your main work in New York, right? Like you have been the organizer for I don't know how many. I believe that there should be something between 15 or 20 delegations, not only to Venezuela but Central America, Bolivia, and other countries, right?
I have been organizing delegation from United States to Venezuela, uh, Bolivia, Nicaragua. Um, so I have also working and very closely with some people in the Cuban Solidarity Movement in the delegation that they organized to Cuba. Yeah, it's a work that I've been doing for more than, I think, 15 years. And I have been organizing, and I remember that for a moment I was organizing in 1 year 5 trips to Venezuela because sometimes
You
people
have,
call me. So I want
you have a count? Do you know
to.
exactly how many delegations have you? Do you have a count on the delegations that you have organized?
Well, I have organized around 35 delegations,
Wow.
and in the beginning was easy because and was a lot
Almost,
of people was.
almost in you were 5 years old, right?
What do you say?
I'm thinking in one per year, so that will take us to your foot. You should be like 40 years old right now, right?
Yeah. Well, no, but as I said, I was organizing, and some I had years. I was organizing almost 5 delegations in
Yes,
one
I
year,
got it. I got it. I
and
was
it was amazing because I was not doing the outreach. So was receiving calls from other people that wanted to come to Venezuela, and they have everything done. They have the delegates, they have everything, but they wanted to have a scheduled thing to do, people to visit. So and so they called me. So
yes,
I
and that's
had
very important.
professors from different university calling me to bring their student to Venezuela. And it's fascinating because thanks to that work, I have been able to be friend of so many people that otherwise, to know those people
But
from my.
most
Yeah.
importantly, you have been able to present another Venezuela to a lot of people that you know without those delegations might be get trapped in the media, lies about
Oh
Venezuela.
yes, yes.
So
I
I
have I have been bringing people. Sus, I have been bringing people here that they were in high school. Now they graduate already. They are professionals, and it's so funny because sometimes someone call me, like Yuri, for example. Yuri call me, and I say, "Who is Yuri? Hey, do you remember? You don't remember me?" Yeah. No, I went to Venezuela with you in 2004, 2003, something like that. And she, oh, can I do something to support Venezuela? Things like that. And you think, and you say, oh, well, I have not been losing my time with this delegation, but like
That's true.
something is going on.
That's true. That's true. Okay, now I'm gonna jump to the questions that I prepared for you. I first want to ask you about how do you see the current economic situation in Venezuela right now, due to sanctions, due to coronavirus, due to everything. How do you see it? What is your impression?
Well, when you see the economy situation in Venezuela is very difficult um, uh,
To talk about
to
economy.
analyze this situation without see all the economy sanctions and without seeing um, all the attack. Is Venezuela is under a hybrid attack. So, for example, I'm right now in Valencia, and sometimes I cannot have internet. I cannot have, for example, electricity or water. Sometimes yes, I cannot have cell phone because no cell phone, no one has connection. Or well, no, you know
Yes,
how things are here.
yes, yes.
But the electricity, the phone lines, the cell phone connection, the internet, and then the inflation that all the time and the prices are changing, and the dollar is all the time all getting up on and all this situation that is induced create a sense that the government is not doing anything
Mm,
to really fight all these economy disaster. The reality, in my opinion, is that the government has been trying to, and also when you understand that most of the, we are not allowed, for example, to get some additive to make, to process the oil to make gasoline, for example.
that's a good point because
And
a lot of people right now with this Iranian tanker scene, a lot of people, even from the left, ask one about that. I mean, they ask you about how is that possible? You are an oil country. How are you? How you should? Why are you importing a gasoline? And you have to explain that to them. And go ahead, go ahead. I just wanted to highlight that because it's very important.
yeah, it's very impressive to know some people that are very politically involved that they don't understand why Venezuela is not producing enough gasoline or is not producing gasoline at all.
Right now.
And then when you realize that well, the sanctions are working,
Mm,
and PDVSA, the oil industry, the United States have imposed, the Treasury Department have imposed some sanctions to the oil industry in Venezuela. For that reason, Venezuela is not allowed to get some chemicals that the Venezuela need to process the oil, some equipment to maintain the industry,
parts to repair it.
and everything.
Parts.
And that's the main reason. That's the main reason. For example, just yesterday, I did line of 12 hours to fill my tank. Finally, to get some gas.
I decided
No,
not to do
but
the lines. I prefer to wait until now.
I was happy. Yeah, I was excited because finally I had gasoline, so I can move around.
For how long did you do the
So
line? How long?
how long I spent
How long?
in the line? 12 hours.
Yes.
12 hours. I was 12 hours on the line.
Wow, that's a lot.
But in the past, it's getting better. But in the past, people stay in the lines with 4 or 5 days and nights, waiting little by little, getting some gasoline. And then when you were able to get some gasoline, you were able to get maybe 20 liters. That's it.
Yes.
Now you are able to full your tank. And well, 12 hours, this process is new. I believe that for next week, it will be a little better and the line will be going to be smaller and the situation is going to improve.
I
So
believe, I
when you
believe
realize that
that.
the sanctions are,
Give me
I'm
one second.
sorry.
Maybe let me
Okay.
stop you for a second. I just wanted to connect to what you say, talking about the difference between Caracas and the rest of the country. Usually, Caracas
Mhm.
have not suffered from, like in recent months, from problems with electricity, but lately mostly with gasoline. We never had problems with gasoline in Caracas until last March. But it's important for people to know that in other cities of Venezuela, not Caracas, like Valencia, where you are, or Barquisimeto, Mérida, Puerto La Cruz, Ciudad Bolívar, many other cities, they have been struggling with lines for gasoline for several years already. I just wanted
Yeah,
to add.
and also, yes, and also it's very important that people understand that in some places it will be worse. For example, Zulia state is
Mhm.
one of the state that is facing a very bad situation with the gasoline, and it's an oil producer state.
Yeah.
And also they have a lot of problems with electricity, water, all the services.
Yes.
And so, well, when you see all this situation, you see, well, the economy is collapsing. Well, it's not like that. It's like all the sanctions and all the crisis have been induced by all those sanctions coming from the United States and coming from, and this is something that people have to understand, coming from those that belong to the opposition in Venezuela that have been traveling all over the world asking for sanctions to Venezuela. And
Yes.
they were asking to sanction the oil industry for a long time already. And now, in this, during this huge demonstration protest against Donald Trump caused by the police brutality in United States, they are asking the government of the United States to intervene because the Venezuelan government is behind those protests. Something completely crazy that Julio Borges has been talking about, and even this woman from Patricia Poleo from Miami, and other people from the opposition have been uh, talking about it. But all this situation is induced.
But it's,
Fortunately,
but it's affecting many
I'm
Venezuelans.
sorry,
I mean, what I'm
yeah,
trying
it's
to add
affecting.
is that a lot of Venezuelans are affected because of that. And I wanted to add also that um, from the way I see it, I believe that Maduro, during his first 3 or 4 years, didn't found the right way to solve economic problems in the middle of the U.S. attacks, of U.S. sanctions. But if you ask me, I believe that since 2018, he has finally found the key between, how to try to keep the economy going and how to, keep the US not to make our economy explode, I just wanted to add that because I believe that, I mean, at least that's the way I see it. I believe that in recent, at least for the last couple of years, Maduro finally has been found the balance between how to contain the economic crisis and somehow make the economy work and and deal, in the meantime, dealing with the U.S. sanctions and regime change operation, everything. That's it.
Yeah, what is happening here is very amazing. It's very amazing because it's a country that is surrounded by a bunch of countries that are enemies. Basically, Colombia, Brazil are working well, very closely with United States, and all of them are part of the economy sabotage again the government of Venezuela.
Mm.
And to see that despite all these situations, for example, I'll give you an example. I give you an example. Maybe 3 weeks ago, I was in a line with my brother waiting to get some 20 liters of gasoline. So we were 4 days. We were, he was one night, I was in another night, 4 days.
Crazy.
So to get 20 liters. So something that really impressed me was to see people on the line just talking funny, talking very nicely. No one was angry, no one was upset, no one was talking bad about the government. People were, frustrated, but no one was saying, hey, we need to overthrow the government and things like that. What made me feel that, and that was in Campo Carabobo, what made me feel that um, most of the people uh, know, made consciousness or unconsciously, that the economy situation is not, they cannot blame for the economy situation the government. And that's important, that you see that despite that people stay in line 5, 6 days or more and to get 20 liters of gasoline, and they don't demonstrate or protest against the government. They protest when they see things, for example, if I go and I have $20 and they say, hey, can you put me some gasoline? And they see that I'm paying dollars to get gasoline and jump over everybody, so people get angry. Yes. Or because I'm someone coming from the government and I'm not going to do the line because I work in the government. So I go straight and in the front line and I got my gasoline. So people get angry with that because then they start to talk about corruption. But if they have to do the line, they make the line peacefully. And meanwhile, they share food, water, they drink in the line until they get enough gas. So that was very important to see. So,
What do they drink?
hmm?
What do they drink?
Oh, you know that now it's very popular, the cucuy. People are drinking cucuy like crazy here. And some people are just, the popular,
I'm joking.
people really know. But it's very interesting to see this behave, how people are really uh, going through all these difficulties in a very peaceful way, in understanding that they cannot blame the government because basically these sanctions are coming from the United States, and a big part of those sanctions are coming from the position.
Listen.
So if I can criticize the government, I can say, well, and a critique to the government is that we cannot, in this economy sabotage, in this economic crisis induced by United States and the opposition, we cannot tolerate corruption.
Okay.
And then we can criticize the government if the government, when the government is not moving with enough, how can I say,
Strength.
yes, trying to contain the corruption or to put in jail those people that are corrupting the system.
Yes.
So it's necessary because in this situation, everybody is sacrificing something. People are sacrificing, and they want to go. They are willing to go through this in a peaceful way, but the government has to be strong and willing to punish those that corrupt the system and those that are corrupting working with the corruption. So in that sense, we can make a critique to the government. But another issue, we can say that I believe that it's incredible what's happening, and it's incredible how Maduro have been able to move around all those sanctions to get the necessary stuff for the Venezuelan people. Even in this incredible crisis that the planet is living with the pandemic, Venezuela have been able to get a bunch of resources from China and Russia to, and now is able to get his own gold from UK to get some medicine and food from the United Nations.
Yes, yes.
I think that's important.
That's fine, that's fine. Let me jump to the second question now. The second question is about the security situation, the recent threats, security threats coming from the US, of course, Colombia, and also Brazil, I believe, but most importantly from Colombia and the US. And I'm talking especially about those mercenary, training camps that are in Colombia, and the troops that are going to Colombia, and the mercenaries that tried to raid the coast of La Guaira a few weeks ago. So I just want your opinion about that, what happened, and what might happen next.
Well, I just was reading an article that was published, and this, and maybe you know this publication, Orinoco Tribune. Do you know that?
No,
Very well known. So anyway, I was reading, it's amazing to see that Duque is still organizing mercenary groups. The president of Colombia is still organizing mercenary groups to attack Venezuela. And that has only one explanation. The desperation of the Duque administration in Colombia has one explanation. Is that they have been putting their own oil reserve on the hand of the United States, because the United States didn't want to buy oil to Venezuela, and they start to buy oil to Colombia and to Ecuador and other countries in the region. Basically, Colombia is selling to the United States their oil reserve and hoping that sometime Maduro will be overthrown and they will get a little piece of cake and they will have some oil, And the desperation is that for Colombia and for the horrible elite that is leading that country, is that they have been looking how Maduro has been surviving all those attacks, and they have been compromising the immediate future of the nation because they are selling the oil reserve to the United States. That's why the desperation.
You already gave me the headline for the posting this interview.
Well, anyway, but for me, that's the desperation of the Colombian government. But in the case of the United States, it's very impressive to see how the Trump administration, first of all, Trump as an individual, he had interest in Venezuela. He want to be an oil, he want to invest in oil. He want to be a real rich man. I think that he is over $3 billion, something like that. That's a lot of money for us, but for some people in the United States, that's nothing. Some people have billions and billions of dollars, and that's Bill Gates, Bloomberg, Soros. Those people, they really have money. They are the elite. And Trump had the ambition to be able to reach them. And the only way to do it is investing in oil. So he's hoping to become an oil expert or oil magnate,
yes,
rich man with oil. And he wants to have part of the cake here in Venezuela sometime, somewhere in Venezuela. So that's why he is pushing to be able to overthrow the government of Venezuela. But the other thing is that the reality is that the situation in the continent is changing very dramatically. We see that Bolsonaro is in an impeachment process right now. He doesn't have the capacity to mobilize the military in his favor. His sons are involved in corruption and they could be in jail anytime. Some of the key figures of his cabinet have been resigning. Uh, so it's also completely discredited the way that he has been working with the pandemic in Brazil. A lot of people really hated him for that reason.
Also in
And
Colombia.
the other side, we have Colombia, exactly. And the other side, we have Colombia that Duque has been really mismanaged the situation with the pandemic, but also he, there is a movement that has been growing, the Colombia Humana, that is former people from the Polo Democratic or from the leftist movement in Colombia that unite to form this new group called Colombia Humana that is led by Gustavo Petro, that was a former guerrilla fighter. So all this situation and also the discredit of Duque, his connection with the narco traffic, there are so many pictures, so many videos, so many statements with Duque and the narco traffic. So it's complete discredit nationally and internationally. So it's a government that has too many problems. Then we have the government of Ecuador that is completely discredited, the way that the economy was completely destroyed by Lenin Moreno in Ecuador, the way that he was also, that he managed the pandemic in Ecuador, that is a complete disaster. And we have Bolivia, that the Áñez, the dictator, I think that she is the first female dictator in this hemisphere. So she basically is connected with the narco traffic. Her husband is a Colombian guy that is connected to El Partido Uno, that is part of the Uribismo. And also this guy, instead of being accused of narco traffic, and his niece, the Janet niece, he was in Sao Paulo, he was arrested because he was taking more than 500 kilos of cocaine to Sao Paulo, Brazil. He was arrested there. And now this is her administration, two different airplanes from the Bolivian government has been caught with kilos, hundreds of kilos of cocaine in Mexico, and also in, I think that was in Chile. Two different airplanes that are owned by the state, the Bolivian state. So Murillo, that is chief of the cabinet, is the mastermind behind Janine and Áñez in Bolivia. It's a guy that is completely connected with the narco traffic. So it's all this government in South America are completely discredited. And the United States know that they cannot work with them, basically. And they also, some of them in a few months are going to be removed from the office. And for that reason, the desperation of the government, of the United States government, to overthrow the government of Nicolás Maduro, la revolución bolivariana, because they probably will not be able to get people governments so willing to help them to destroy the Bolivarian revolution like this one that they have right now. So it's very difficult, but on the other side, despite despite all the uh, warships that are in front of the Caribbean Sea, in front of Venezuela, despite all the military bases the United States have in Colombia and other countries around Venezuela, despite all the muscles that the United States have been showing lately, especially when the Iranian oil ships were coming, despite everything, they know something. They know that Venezuela had the capacity to, fight back.
Yes.
And course, they had the capacity to destroy the country. But they know that it's going to be very painful for them.
Yes.
And they don't want to pay the price. And that's why Mike Pompeo said, oh, that they are not going to intervene militarily because it's a little risky. Of course, it's very a little risky. So just few weeks ago, maybe you know this, two airplanes from the United States Air Force, two F-2020 and 22nd, two F-22nd that are very sophisticated war airplanes were detected by the Venezuelan system radars, and basically they were sent back to the United States. They never tried to use those airplanes before against Venezuela because they were, most of those airplanes have mechanic issues right now. So they never tried those airplanes before. So, and those are the most sophisticated right now. The other one, I think that is called F-35, that is still, they are still working in the airplane. But that means that it's a situation for them really to think that a small country that doesn't have a big industry to make arms, that doesn't have a huge army, is able uh, to just to stop them, to get inside of Venezuela. You remember when Iraq was intervened by the United States, President Chavez went to Iraq. When Iraq was intervened by the United States, President Chavez went to visit Saddam Hussein. And I remember that Chavez said that Clinton called him. He called to the White House. So he received a call from the White House. And they said to him that he used her presidential airplane to fly over the airspace of Iraq, his airplane will be shut down. So and then Chavez said, well, I will go to Baghdad and I will see Saddam Hussein. And if I have to go in camel, I will go in camel. And that's what Chavez did. He went in camel, he crossed the border with Iran in camel to visit Saddam Hussein. And because that happened because United States declared no-fly zone in Iraq. Venezuela is exercising its sovereignty, declaring to the Air Force from the United States no-fly zone in Venezuela. And that's very important because they cannot fly over the Venezuelan space without being,
So,
they know that it will bring consequence.
yes. Yes. Okay.
It's a very scary moment, yeah, also.
It's complicated. I mean, I understand what you say about the U.S. At the end of the day, knowing that entering into Venezuela is gonna be high cost for them, but it's also scary that they still can keep pushing us toward violence, like the attempt they just did with the mercenaries in Macuto and Chuao, and now just yesterday Maduro talking about this new training camps in Colombia, and that connects to this announcement from the Southcom about the sending of almost 1,000 elite troops to Colombia. So it's kind of scary, but I understand, and I believe that. Uh, I mean, the U.S. is also playing his psychological war, doing this kind of stuff, but at the same time, they will keep trying different ways to
No,
Maduro.
definitely, definitely the only thing that they have on their hands is the economic sanctions, the suffocation of the Venezuelan economy,
Which,
and the use of mercenaries
mm,
to try to kill some key figures from the government and to create chaos in the country. So
yes,
that's what they are right now trying to do, and they will try to do that. You know, they have been trying that with Cuba for 60 years. They will try. They have been tried that with Iran for 60 or more. With Iran for 40 years. I don't know from how many years with Korea, North Korea. They have been trying that with other countries for years, and this is no. It's
not
not
a,
going to. It's not
yes,
going to be different.
yes, that's true.
The
Okay,
government has to be different.
so now I just to finish my questions, I want to ask you about your impressions on the
Well,
George.
let me ask you something, man. Let me ask you something, because for me, you know, I know you for a while, and for me, it's very interesting because I know that it's difficult for people that have been living for years outside, and it's understandable. And to do the transition. No, how was your transition when you came from Chicago to Caracas? And it's something a little traumatic because sometimes you have children and you have to bring them here, getting out from the school, all that kind of stuff. Can you talk to us about it?
It
Because
was,
I know that it's a little could be a little complicated.
yes, I know it was hard. I I have to let the viewers know that I work for as Venezuelan Consul General in Chicago for almost 12 years. I lived in Chicago since 2005 until 2017, basically. So that's a lot of time, and you get used to the place where you live, the way of life, friends, a lot of things. But it's also complicated in my case because I mean, but in my case it's less complicated because I was a diplomat, and as a diplomat that love his country, you always have in your mind that you are going back. But in my case, was more complicated because the way the gringos sent me back to Venezuela was not the regular, way. They basically, without saying it, declare me and two or three more other Venezuelan diplomats persona non grata. So we had basically to pack our things in 72
Oh,
hours and come back to Venezuela with my whole family and leaving everything behind. So it was kind of tough, uh, but we managed to survive. It was difficult at the beginning. The first, I could say, the first year and a half, we were still in shock, trying to reorganize everything in the family. Especially, for example, my oldest kid, my daughter, as she was in the middle of college, and cutting that from her was very traumatic for her, of course, but also for me as a father. So we had to deal with that, and we tried to, with the help of some friends in Chicago, to help her get a visa, a student visa, to continue to resume her studies there, and she couldn't. It was a lot, and finally, the gringos denied her visa, and she ended up finishing studying in Spain. She's currently living in Spain, trying to finish her degree in communications. So it was complicated. It was hard. It was hard because we arrived into a Venezuela that was in the middle of one of the worst guarimbas in 2017. I believe that it was actually the worst guarimba ever, the longest one, and the one with more injuries and dead people. So it was very shocking, but we managed to survive. Here we are, uh, and and people keep going. People keep going, and especially if you love what you do, if you are clear with your ideas and things like that, you know. So
Mm,
so I'm gonna jump
yeah,
to my question. Or do you
go
want to
ahead,
ask?
man.
I want to ask you about the George Floyd uprising. What do you think about it? Because
Uh,
for me, it's like wow, the most radical thing that I have seen in my entire life. And I'm 50 years old. I'm not a teenager, so I've seen a lot of things in the U.S. Even before I live, I worked there as a consul general, and I never see anything like this that is happening. And I have a lot of expectations, but a lot of friends tell me that we cannot have too many expectations with the U.S. social movement. So I just wanna have your opinion on that.
well, uh, I have to say that um, from the beginning, someone called me and asked me, "What do you think?" And I said, "Okay, this is different. Something is going on, different." And
Yes.
why you think that it's different? Because too many small towns participating in this places where you can see most of the people are white. And you know, I was in 1990. I was in New York in 1999 when Amadou Diallo was killed. Amadou Diallo was from Guinea, from Africa. He was 23 years old, and uh, four plainclothes officers from the police department of New York City, from the police department, show up and basically shoot him 41 times because they thought that was the criminal that they were looking for. And he was in his building, in front of his building, and he wanted just, and at that moment, he was throwing the garbage.
Wow. I,
And, and then the four police officers saw him, and they went and asking, one of them asking for show your ID, and another one asking, you know, raise your hands, raise your hands, you know. And then when he was like, some people that were able to see, he was like, not, he didn't know what to do, so he went to get his ID, and some officer went in court said, we thought that he wanted to get a gun, and that's why we shoot him 41 times. He was
that's
trying to get his ID. So the
that's
four officers were found not guilty. Four white officers were found not guilty. And, and I remember because I went to those huge demonstrations to the house where Amadou Diallo used to live.
what was his
And
name again? Because I didn't remember that case. What was
Amadou Diallo.
Ahmad?
It's a very well-known case. And it's, I remember, and we were in front of his house, and I heard, I think the Reverend Charlton was talking, and I heard what someone said that more than 80,000 people were surrounding the area, protesting. And the confrontation with the police,
For how long did they protest? I mean, how many
those,
days?
oh, for long periods of time. And a big number of people were arrested. And was a case, because it was very close to the case that happened in Los Angeles another very well-known case that was Rodney King,
Uh-huh.
happened with few months of difference, and people were expecting the the demo. The people were scared because they thought that the city had the possibility to be destroyed and that kind of stuff. And people were thinking that, okay, we will see the same thing that will happen in Los Angeles with the Rodney King case. But New York didn't go so far. But the police department was all over. Police officers were all over. A bunch of helicopters were over the crowd. I remember that they were just over the crowd, checking everybody. It was a very scary moment to be there because a lot of people were arrested. I think that something like 200 or more people were arrested. I don't know how many people were injured. So it was a terrible moment. And then we have another case, a bunch of cases, like for example, Anthony Rosario. Anthony Rosario was a Puerto Rican guy that was basically killed in front of in his backyard by a police officer in front of his parents. So we have no, that's Anthony Baez. We have Anthony Rosario that was killed in his apartment, and he was killed in his apartment. He was shot 21 times when he was lying on the ground, on the floor. He was shot on the back 21 times. So a Puerto Rican guy, Hilton Vega, that was his friend, also was shot 18 times in the back. And the case, again, the city, so the police officers were released. They were free, but there was a suit against the city. And the family finally, that was in that case happened in 2000. Isama Diallo happened in 2000 in one.
19.
That was in 1999. That happened in 1995. So in 2009, they finally won a suit against the city, and the city giving them like a 1 million point something for their sons, no? In court, more than 14 years fighting in court. So then we have a big number of cases. Sean Bell, a Haitian guy that was killing his car by the police. Afner Luima. We had too many cases. And those cases happened when the New York City Police Department commissioner was William Bratton, the super police, el super policía, that was invited to be advised by Alfredo Peña, that was at that moment the mayor of Caracas, and was part of the opposition and was against President Chavez. So William Bratton was invited to advise the police department of Caracas, and during those days previous to the coup d'etat against President Chavez. And maybe it's no coincidence that the police department of Caracas was used to overthrow President Chavez. No? And so the thing is that what I wanted to say is that the police brutality is a problem that always has been in the USA society. In my personal opinion, the police brutality is the continuation of the culture of lynching of the United States. So the lynching was an institution in the early 1900s and in the late 800s, and always has been something, happening like that, something horrible. It's a very horrible charter of the United States history. black cities that were completely destroyed, like for example, Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was completely destroyed, and that was called the Black Wall Street, because that city had the richest black people of the United States, and was called the Black Wall Street, and was completely destroyed.
What was the city, Tulsa?
Tulsa, Oklahoma. So was completely destroyed. So, and there are other cities like Tulsa, the black city that were completely destroyed by the white supremacy and by the institution that support the white supremacy in the United States. So in
But
my opinion,
you don't see any hope. I'm trying to
any,
wrap it up because of the time. So you don't see
okay,
any hope because of the culture
basically,
that is established in the U.S.
okay, no, what I see is that at this moment, we have two elements that have been catalyzed the situation. One is Bernie Sanders, that has been for two different presidential periods. He was the candidate, and he has been talking about equality. He has been able uh, to involve all the young people, the millennials, and he has been able to get all the millennials around his figure.
Yes.
And offering all education for all, Medicaid for all, offering all these social benefits that I think people are entitled to have. Another catalyst that we have is Donald Trump, that have been basically, he have been dragging the country, putting the speed to the deterioration of the country, and getting all this white supremacy involved in his government. So we have this clash right now. And when we see all these people demonstrating, protesting in the United States, and we see that a lot of those people are white, we not only see that they are protesting against police brutality, they are also protesting because they want Medicaid for all. They want the economy situation to be better, not worse. And most of them feel that right now, after this administration, the economy situation is going to be worse than their parents. So they will be living worse than their parents. And they are on the street just not only for the police brutality, but they also are on the street saying that the economy has to be fixed and that the system is not working for anyone in the United States. I think that is very interesting what's happening. And that's why you see, although even cities like Salt Cities, serious demonstration in Salt City. So you say, what the hell is going on? Of course, people have a lot of reason to be in the street demonstrating against a system that is not offering anything to most of the citizens.
Yes.
So let's see. I don't know what's going to happen because, yes.
I just wanted to add that also to the igniters of the crisis of the uprising, you have to put there the COVID-19 catastrophe that is driving the nerves of many people in the U.S., right? And also affects
Yeah,
the economy.
having also another element very important to mention, that is the COVID-19, the mismanagement of the entire pandemic in the United States, a country that is rich and that had so many resources, is unable to really to stop a pandemic, and the way that they are this right wing that are right now in the government, they are protesting all the looting that is taking right now place in the United States. But the reality, the looting that people that are in the street, they are protesting against the looting that has been organizing, taking advantage of the pandemic by Donald Trump all the richest people in the United States, because you have to see all the trillions and trillions of dollars that have been dropped to all the richest people in the United States. That's a huge looting that is compromising the life of millions of people in the United States, and it's completely destroying the bank system in the entire country and other countries around the globe. So we will see the consequence of this mismanagement, and probably for decades. And that's why people are on the street.
So, but do you see that this? I mean, do you have hope on this going somewhere? I mean, on this moving forward towards like a new alternative, or because I mean, let me tell you what I see. I mean, I see many threats because of this uprising. I mean, not one of the threats that I see is that the threat of a civil war. You know, because of all the militias that has been going out, and Trump igniting with his rhetoric the confrontation between the MAGA people and the people that are protesting. And from the other side, you see all these contradictions within the military in the US that is very powerful. And I believe that not many of them like Donald Trump. And you see this, at least since for the last 28 hours, I've been thinking about the possibility of a coup d'etat against the U.S. Of course, they will need to build past a U.S. embassy there. I'm joking, but I don't know. I see a lot of tensions there. You know.
Yeah, the white supremacy, yes, they are all over, but they are small groups. I don't think that there is a huge group of people supporting the white supremacy. But what I really feel is that for the first time in a long period of time, we have been looking new people talking about equality and justice and justifying what's happening right now. So you can see the governor of California that had a very interesting speech, even Mario Cuomo in New York City, in New York State. And you see also a bunch of lawyers and attorneys from different states of the United States that have been thinking to get some of the key figures and even Donald Trump to the criminal court, to the Hague. So this is going to bring something. This is not stopping with the next election. I really feel that the only way for Donald Trump to stay in power is to create more chaos and he's trying to stop the elections. You know, he knows that he will not be able to win the election. Even a senile Biden can win him because it's so horrible what people have been suffering in his 4 years that he doesn't have the possibility to win electoral process. So he knows that he's trying to use his majority in the Supreme Court. He's trying to suspend the election. That's what he's going to try to do. But I feel like even in the army, as you said, he have opposition, a strong opposition. And I feel like a lot of key people in the establishment doesn't like him because he made the United States look so horrible on the international affair that I don't see him in the next coming 4 years as a president of the United States. And whatever is coming, I feel like, and whoever is coming to be president of the United States is going to try to have more, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but it's going to try to have more friendly international relations. It's going to try to rebuild the relation with Europe, and probably is going to avoid any international confrontation in the next coming years. Because they have to really fix the economy of the country.
Okay.
I hope.
That was my last question. I don't know if you have more questions that you want to raise, uh, but if you don't have many questions, we can wrap it up and publish it in Orinoco Tribune in a couple of days. Are you okay with that? I miss him. I lost him. You went out for a second, but you are live again. But your audio is muted. Unmute the audio.
Okay, now I'm here.
Now you're fine.
Okay, now I'm back. So, well, so this is my last question to you. Orinoco Tribune, Chicago Tribune, how that was born. Talk to us about that experience. I think, let me tell you, I think that the good, you know, the strength of Orinoco Tribune is that you have a lot of information that is produced in Spanish that other people don't have in English. You have that information, and it's very important because sometimes you have the news, that kind of news, before anyone else.
Yes.
And that was something that I think I was talking to, even to other people that have been doing similar work than you. I have been talking about it. Say, hey, that's important. That's important work.
Yes. It is. I mean, Orinoco Tribune came up out of necessity. I was telling you before starting the interview. I mean, I was struggling to survive, and at some point, at least during the last semester of 2000, I believe that during most of 2018, I spent my time doing translations to survive. So at some point, someone, a friend in the US from Detroit, asked me about, he wanted me to do some translation of some news pieces from English, from Spanish to English. And when I finished doing that, he paid me for those translations. And when I finished doing that, I said to me, wow, listen, these translations came, this was an easy job for me. I enjoyed doing the translation. And I realized that I also know some skills to make websites. So that's when the whole idea of Orinoco Tribune came to my mind. I say, wow, there's a niche there first. There's a lack of information, progressive information about Venezuela, which is what you just said, of Venezuela in English. And a lot of the things that happen in Venezuela that are covered a lot of times by Venezuelan outlets in Spanish, most of the time are not being translated into English. And I say to myself, listen, I can do that. I can. So that's how the whole this idea for Orinoco Tribune started. Has been a project that at the beginning was hard, but almost since the first 2 or 3 months, it was already, people already noticed it because of what you just said. There's not too much information. You have great websites in English like Venezuela Analysis, for example, but Venezuela Analysis provides information not on a massive, on a regular way, Venezuela Analysis, that they post their opinion pieces or their news maybe once in a while, and they do the analysis and they collect information here and there. And what we try to do is just present news pieces and opinion pieces that are published in Venezuela on a daily basis, and a lot of people don't even know that those pieces existed, those writers existed, and those news outlets existed. So that's why I believe Orinoco Tribune has been such an incredible success, if you ask me, because we're gonna be 2 years old in November, by the end of November. And I believe that at that point, we are going to be ranked close to Telesur English in the numbers of, in the rankings.
Oh, man.
Yes. I mean, that's at least is our plan. Telesur English is ranked by Alexa in position, it moves, but it goes between 80,000 to 120,000. That's the way it usually moves. And right now, Orinoco Tribune is in position 178,000. So we expect that by the end of the year, we might be neck to neck with Telesur English, or even Prensa Latina in English that also move around that rank in those ranks that measure the visibility of websites like Alexa and other ranking website. So what do you want to ask?
That's very cool. That's very cool to know. I really think that we need more information in English about what's happening in Venezuela, and definitely Orinoco Tribune is helping to provide information that is known outside, especially
and there should be more. I believe that there's a space for other projects like similar to Orinoco Tribune to be out there. And one thing that strikes me a lot lately is that I've seen many websites, I mean news outlets, progressive news outlets in Spanish from Venezuela going offline in recent months. And that's something that worried me a lot because, I mean, for example, Misión Verdad, for several reasons, but Misión Verdad, which is one of the best investigative news outlet that we have in Venezuela, went offline, and right now they are posting information but using Medium platform. And Supuesto Negado, which was another good place to find progressive information, is offline, and I don't know what happened to them. La Tabla, that is still online, but the editor is struggling to survive. He doesn't receive too much money. I mean, he cannot live out of air, and he have decided only to post information on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, things like that, because he do not have the resources to have people editing and doing the work that is needed to keep a website online. So, I mean, there are many others. Maybe I forgot it. Quince Ultimo, that was a good progressive website about economic issues that went online, I believe that 6 or 8 years ago, 8 months ago. So, I mean, I'm scared because we not only need Venezuelan, websites with information about Venezuela in English, but we need to keep the good Venezuelan and Spanish websites alive. And the problem is that we are all affected by the economic crisis that we are facing in Venezuela, and some people just don't have the means, or they just don't have the return that they need to keep working in the project. Sometimes I've struggled in recent weeks, in recent months. I've seen an increase in donations, and I use some advertisement that is helping us a little bit to pass through these difficult times of COVID-19. But not too many people, especially in Venezuela, have the tools to use all that technology to receive donations and things like that. So I mean, I believe that there's something that is needed to be, I mean, that we need to do to try to help those communicational projects from Venezuela, because we are not going to have a narrative if we don't have people different than the state. I recognize the work of Telesur and other Venezuelan news outlets like Alba Ciudad, for example, that I use a lot because they do a nice job, but you always need the other perspective, the perspective of the ones that are not part of the bureaucracy. You know what I mean? So that's
Yes.
how I came up to this idea, and I'm happy because I'm doing what I love to do. I am in contact with the people that I was in contact while being in the US. So somehow I keep my connection with the US alive doing this kind of job, and I love it. And I have to tell you that one of the things that is most important for Orinoco Tribune to stay alive is the work of the co-editor of Orinoco Tribune, which is Elizabeth Ferrari. She's a Mexican American activist from California, and she has been very helpful because, as you can hear and see, my English is not perfect, but having her there proofreading my translations, which is what she initially did and still doing, and still does, I mean, helped me, keep going and keep the work going out, because I'm always afraid that maybe I might commit a mistake translating some things. So that's it. That's Orinoco Tribune. A couple of guys trying to, one in Caracas and another one in California, trying to provide information in English. And I believe that that's key because a lot of people are lost. They don't have a clue about what happened in Venezuela.
So probably you have a lot of heat you have a lot of heat, I will say, from all over United States, no?
Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. I mean, most of the people that read Orinoco Tribune are from the U.S. Like, I don't know,
So,
like
what city is the most?
New York,
You know,
New York, New York, Chicago, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. I mean, many cities in California. But if you ask me about the cities that read us the most in the U.S., I will tell you that they are New York first, and then Chicago. And after the U.S., of course, Canada comes second.
I think I want to. You have to put in my realities. You know.
What is that?
No, I'm making a phone. I'm very happy because I have been promoting the.
Yes, I know, and I wanted to say that. Now that you say it, I have to acknowledge that I have a lot of friends that enjoyed reading and finding information in Orinoco Tribune that has been also helpful in, spreading the word about the work that we has been doing, and you are there. Norman Kozner is another friend from Philadelphia that is always promoting what we do. Stan Smith from Chicago. I mean, there are many. I'm forgetting. Janet Fenerty also from Chicago. I mean, there are many friends that one have in the U.S. that have been enjoying what we do, and they has been spreading the word, and of course that have helped us reaching more audiences. And in Canada, which I was about to tell you, we have our second, it's the second country with most clicks on Orinoco Tribune. And in recent weeks, something that has struck me a lot, we have been receiving a lot of clicks from Trinidad and Tobago, which is something that worries me. Sometimes you are paranoid, thinking that maybe they are planning some sort of invasion out of not only out of Colombia but out of Trinidad and Tobago. Especially these things happen with when all these announcements of U.S. Vessels in the Caribbean were going to deploy it. And when the mercenary attempt happened a few weeks ago, and now we have like a big audience, a lot of clicks from Trinidad and Tobago that make me be I don't know how to say that in English. Wary is the word, or
Sorry.
cautious.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, but anyway, I enjoy that people in Trinidad and Tobago are reading us, but you always have to be careful.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad that everything is fine with Orinoco Tribune.
Thank you for the question. I usually do not talk about those things, and from time to time it's important also to talk about the work that one does. So thank you for the questions, and thank you for accepting our
And thanks
invitation.
very much for the interview. So I hope to see you soon when I go back to Caracas, before I
I,
go back to the United States.
I didn't hear you well. Sorry.
I hope to see you soon when I go back to Caracas and
Yes,
before I go back to New York City.
we have to. We have to. Please be
And
safe, and thank you again for accepting our invitation. And that's it, friends. We are gonna try to post this interview in the next 28 hours if everything goes fine here without
all right.
invasions.
Thank you.
Bye bye, guys.